Hi, my name is Grace Clark, and I'll be presenting my honors thesis, which is titled Examining Interacting Effects of Group Membership and Untrustworthiness on Recognition Memory. To begin, I want you to consider which person you think you'd be more likely to remember, the man on the left or the man on the right. Now, notice that there's a label underneath each person. Does this change your mind? In the picture I just showed, one of those people has been categorized as trustworthy, and the other has been categorized as untrustworthy. A growing body of work has found that people remember untrustworthy faces more than trustworthy ones because they indicate potential danger. This work has examined recognition memory without using other cues, like group membership. Recognition memory refers to the ability to remember something that has been previously seen. Additionally, perception of untrustworthiness is believed to be so important for survival that according to evolutionary theory, people should remember survival-related information better than other types of information. And past research has found that people remember more in-group than out-group faces, and this finding extends to racial in-groups and out-groups as well. Research by Bernstein et al. Found that simply assigning faces to a category caused own group bias among participants. This is significant because it shows that non-pre-existing groups can bring about bias among in-groups and out-groups. Additionally, research has found that people rate the emotional expressions of in-groups more positively than out-groups, and that labeling a face with in-group membership results in a more positive perception. Therefore, it seems plausible that untrustworthy in-group faces would be perceived as less untrustworthy than the out-group faces. To date, there's very little research on how group membership and facial trustworthiness interact together to affect recognition memory. The current research is motivated by the question, how well do people remember trustworthy and untrustworthy faces that are arbitrarily categorized as belonging to an in-group or out-group? The in-group and out-group were established by randomly assigning participants and stimuli to one of two personality types, red or blue. My hypotheses were drawn from the research findings I've just discussed. Therefore, I predicted that people would remember untrustworthy faces more than trustworthy ones, and that people would remember in-group faces better than out-group faces. I also hypothesized that trustworthiness and group membership would interact to affect recognition memory, and that the untrustworthiness advantages in memory would be stronger for out-group versus in-group faces. In other words, the untrustworthy advantage would be reduced for the in-group. I used 88 neutrally expressive white male faces from the Chicago Face Database as the stimuli. The faces had already been classified as trustworthy or untrustworthy, and half of the faces were randomly assigned to have a red or blue personality type. The primary analysis examining recognition memory used a 2x2 within subjects design. So participants saw faces across 4 combinations of trustworthiness and group membership. There was a trustworthy in-group, trustworthy out-group, untrustworthy in-group, and untrustworthy out-group. Because participants were randomly assigned to personality type, this created the in-group and out-group. Participants were recruited from Amazon Mechanical Turk. This current study was conducted online, and participants took a 10-question personality test, and then were randomly assigned to a red or blue personality. Then they completed the learning phase of the study. They saw 44 faces selected randomly, one at a time. The faces were labeled with a red or blue personality, and the participants indicated which personality the face belonged to. After the learning phase, participants completed the recognition phase of the study. Here they saw all 88 faces. 44 of the faces were new, and the others were from the learning phase. Participants indicated whether they had seen the face before or whether it was new. All of the faces were evenly distributed across trustworthiness, untrustworthiness, and personality type. The graph on the left shows the expected measure of recognition memory. Recognition memory was measured using D', And the larger the D prime value is, the more accurate participants are with their responses. The blue bars represent trustworthiness and the red bars represent untrustworthiness. As you can see, I expected the D prime level to be very similar across both in-group measures. This is because I expected the untrustworthy advantage to be reduced for the in-group. For the out-group, the graph shows that the untrustworthy out-group was predicted to be remembered more. The graph on the right shows the actual results of the study. If you look at the in-group bars, you can see that there was not a reduction in the untrustworthy advantage. And for the out-group, the untrustworthy faces were remembered more than the trustworthy ones. The analysis used to analyze the results found no significant effects for group membership, facial trustworthiness, or an interaction between the two. However, the results did show that overall, untrustworthy faces were remembered more than trustworthy ones. As I mentioned before, I predicted that facial trustworthiness and group membership would interact to affect recognition memory. Importantly, I also predicted that the untrustworthiness advantage would be reduced for in-group faces. Overall, these results aren't in line with my hypotheses. Although the results do show that the untrustworthiness advantage was maintained, this effect was small. The results did not find a group membership effect, and this could be because trustworthiness is a more powerful cue than group membership. But another possibility is that the personality test I used didn't elicit sufficient group manipulation. No interaction was found for a reduced untrustworthy advantage in the in-group, which indicates that group membership doesn't have a significant influence on trustworthiness. These cues may be more salient than group membership cues when they're presented together. This counters the hypotheses of my study. A possible explanation for these findings could be evolutionary theory, which suggests that trustworthiness perception is crucial for survival. And this means that people give more sway to trustworthy cues than group membership cues because they're considered more important for survival. And this could be an interesting avenue for future research. The most significant limitation to the study was the participant exclusion, which ended up reducing the number from 149 to 58. Another limitation to the study was the format. It was conducted online, and this could have contributed to the high participant exclusion. If this study were replicated in a lab setting rather than online, it seems probable that participants would be less distracted. Another limitation worth mentioning is the use of white male faces as stimuli. However, it was necessary to use these stimuli in order to control for variables like gender or race that could otherwise impact the results. This study looked at how recognition memory is affected by group membership and trustworthiness, but it didn't examine gender or race, so it's unclear how these findings generalize across female and minority faces. Researching how these cues affect minority faces is important because racial stereotypes could be linked to untrustworthiness. And this could lead to an increased untrustworthy advantage for the outgroup. Also, the current research used arbitrary group membership, but using group membership cues like race or political affiliation could lead to more salient in-group bias. These real-life groups are associated with stereotypes, while the arbitrary personality types in this study are not. In addition, future research should investigate how facial characteristics like likability or dominance affect recognition memory when presented with group membership. Overall, my research takes an important first step in investigating how more than one characteristic affects recognition memory. In the future, I hope that psychological research continues to value research that examines how people behave in a more realistic way. People don't live in a vacuum, so we need research to consider how complex our social environments are. And this includes how people are categorized. When we encounter people, we perceive them according to many categories, not just gender, race, or personality. And my research sought to emulate this real-world process. I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and I'd like to thank my thesis advisor, Dr. Brittany Cassidy, for her help and guidance during the course of this project. Additionally, I'd like to thank Dr. Boziowski for helping me to develop my research proposal. Thank you.